Welcome, my friends, to the Predictive Playbook. This is Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show. I'm going to be joined shortly by Tony Finn of Wager Talk, and then at 4:30, 4:35-ish, Rob Vino will stop by for a quick hitting segment with his best bet for the show. Speaking of best bets for the show, our current record right now, I do have that here. We went 1-3 on Friday, which was one of our worst days in quite a while here, but we are 74-44 and 62.7%, as it says on the description of the YouTube show channel here. 33% ROI over the last 38 shows, and that's doing it 5 days a week. So that is coming up on 2 months worth. So we're doing pretty good. We essentially made just a little bit on the PGA golf props over the weekend, so that is not included in the 491, but it's not going to go much above probably about 540, 545-ish, but still it's plus, and that's what we're aiming for here. Well, I'm going to start with the baseball game tomorrow, and this is what we all wanted. This is definitely what we all wanted. We wanted to see the Yankees and the Red Sox get together, and in this matchup we have a marquee matchup. I mean, what more can we say here? It's a tremendous opportunity here. Garrett Cole, righty, versus Nathan Eovaldi. The Yankees are currently favored by -115, making Boston a home dog of modest proportions. This is the American League playoffs wild card. It was crazy yesterday thinking that we could have a playoff for the two teams involving 4 games. So it really is something else to see, and I can't wait for it. I cannot wait for it. I have a few stats. I'm going to have a 4%er on this game, but I really want to talk about the total because I think what we're seeing here is a lean to the over for, let's see here, over is 16-6 over, when Boston has a fatigued bullpen after 3 straight games throwing 4 or more innings this season. The Yankees are 42-21 over in road games after a 3-game span where the bullpen threw 13 or more total innings over the last 3 seasons and games played over the last 3 seasons. Boston has lost 4 consecutive games to the Yankees. Timeout. Yeah, that's better. Boston has lost 4 straight to the Yankees, and they are 96-60 on the over when revenging 4 straight losses to an opponent in games played over the last 2 years. What else can I tell you here? Cole is 5-4 when starting against Boston with an ERA of 4.02 and a WHIP of 1.215. That, in and of itself, portends to the over. The team record is 7-4, however. The over is 7-4 also. He's gone 6 innings, 5 innings, and 6 innings in his last 3 starts in succession, allowing 3 runs each of the last 2 starts, and allowed a home run in each of those 2 starts as well. One was an 8-3 win, most recently on September 24th, and then at Boston, where he's pitching now. He last pitched there July 23rd, and lost 6-2 as a plus 105 underdog. So Eovaldi is going to be on the hill for the Boston Red Sox, 4-4 against the Yankees with an ERA of 3.33 and 1.05. And I think I see Mr. Finn here, so I will bring him in, and we can talk about this game further with him. There's effing Tony.
Good afternoon or morning or
it looks like your stylist was in town over the weekend. You're looking sharp.
Well, I'll just say thank you. No, I mean, losing. Maybe I just lose a little more every day.
Oh, well, that's the difference. That's one of the reasons I think I wear a hat, because then I don't notice it as much.
Yeah. Now somebody told me that if you wear a hat, it goes away even faster. So, no, I really have I have a thick head of hair. I'm not really ever concerned about that. It's more it's more about the brain cells that I should be concerned about.
I took care of a few of those, but from what I'm told, we have billions of them, so that you don't have to worry about losing too many over the course of one weekend.
But if that was the case, I wouldn't worry about it. I'm talking about hundreds of weekends combined, and the effects thereof. But I digress. We'll get to what you were speaking of. I don't know what you're speaking of.
I do. I was talking about the Yankees in Boston. I hope you had as half a good week as what I experienced last week. I went 5-1 in the NFL, 4 totals all hit. I had Washington Iron Condors in the Circa, and I thought that was a loss. With 4 minutes to go, I just kind of looked at the score and thought, well, we can't have a repeat of the Super Bowl against New England because it's the Washington football team and not New England. But somehow Atlanta blew that game, much to my surprise. That was kind of shocking. But I think in terms of tomorrow, I think we got what we wanted for the baseball fans of America.
I think we got what the networks wanted. I would probably. I think there'd be plenty of Seattle fans and
Philadelphia fans,
Oakland. A lot of fans would argue with you, but I think the networks are happy.
Yeah, I think so. How was your week last week?
It was okay. It was I was 6 and I had a big college card that went 6-2, and yesterday in the NFL. I have a play tonight. I have a chance to go if I win tonight, and I fully expect to win tonight. It will be 4-2, so that's not horrible, right? 6-2 and 4-2.
No, it's fantastic. You take that
it's not award winning
situation.
It's not award winning, and it's not quite as good as what you just described. But I'm a grinder.
Well, that's what it is, and it's only 1 week, Tony. It's only 1 week. And it's the thing people have to remind themselves. One Sunday afternoon, we all can get the horseshoe in the right place, and things happen that you cannot handicap in the NFL. And I do feel that I had a bad pick on Washington, but they came through. I also had a bad pick on San Francisco, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do.
I mean, that's one of my. I was a big proponent of Seattle. Mostly, and this is just my uneducated opinion, right? My meager opinion, and that is that we're starting to run into, and it happened during the game as well. What I'm going to reference, and that is that this time last year, it happened a little bit later than week 4, should I say, is that Shanahan that group of players can't stay healthy, and their depth is not sufficient. And last year, when they had that, I think it was week 8 through week 15, what it was, they went 1 and change, whatever the number is. Is that right now you can run the football against the Seattle. And let me tell you, Seattle, I thought Carroll, and I'm a big Carroll fan, John. I didn't think that his game plan was. It wasn't what I expected, or wasn't what I would have done. Not that I'm trying to say I'm smarter than Carroll, but I'm not blind, and I'm not a complete idiot. So, but you can run the football against the San Francisco team right now. And one more injury. Well, we saw it happen again. Quarterback goes out. They bring in a rookie, and a pure green rookie that's going against a pedestrian Seattle defense. Now they have their moments, and when they make the right play call, when Carroll and his staff do a good job defensively in their play calling and disguises, they're pretty tough. Yep. But this San Francisco team is in trouble. Shanahan's in trouble, and I don't think I was surprised, John. I was surprised that they. I don't. It has to be. It has to come from it has to come from the GM, who we all know, and but I don't think Shanahan wants to start over. And when you have a rookie quarterback and you're in that kind of development stage, I don't think he has those years. I don't think he has I don't know that he has a support system within the organization that would say, listen, I know that we had to retool in some areas of our team. We'll talk about an extension. We'll see how you're doing 3 or 4 years from now. I just don't see that. They didn't have a lick of patience for Jimmy G. You think about what they gave for Jimmy G, and where he took him, and even before he got there, they're talking about how we're going to place him.
Yep.
So, and again, part of that is the major media portals and the talking heads, and that's one of the reasons I don't listen. I don't turn the volume up on any of that crap, is because we could have a whole show. We could have a whole week of shows on how ESPN and their talking heads, as well as some of the other networks, but primarily ESPN, what role they play in public perception and what role they play in what the odds makers post for a number in a game. You would be, I will tell you right now, most of them won't probably be completely forthright or transparent about it, but the odds makers or the line makers are following trends and metrics that tell them. It's as much as if you listen to some online, John, I don't know if you ever listen to them. I do listen to them because I like to hear what they have to say, and then do the best job I can of being a soothsayer of which ones are trying to pull your leg or just try to sound smart, should I say. But don't let them fool you. It's all about metrics for them. And the bigger books, we all know that have algorithms, live in-game betting. Unless you're a heavy hitter, unless you're a whale, if you're just a $50 player, you were getting vanilla algorithms that most, the 95% of the people that are playing don't understand how to manipulate, or at least wait for certain points in certain situations and put at least a bad bounce of the ball. They can survive that, as opposed to completely putting things in favor. It's a business. It's a business, and it's what can we call it? How do we call it? What's in politics? The dark state, right? The deep, dark, evil devil state that that exists beneath, in the alleys and the sewers of DC, who really run our country. The same thing applies, and I'm being facetious, obviously, but the same thing applies, and that is that you're not going to. It's in our day and age. This is not 1990, 1985, 80, even when I was out here. We didn't have, the internet wasn't prevalent. In 1980, it wasn't prevalent. If your neighbor had a Mac, one of the first Macs in 1980, first off, you were his friend, whether you liked him or not. And secondly, you wanted to see it. And third, the cost of it then, if you use inflated numbers or compare it to, was pretty outrageous what it cost to buy.
It was over $10,000 for the top end ones.
What is that called? And back then, what is it now? That's ridiculous. What $10,000 was in 1980.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the fact that talk about deflation. Technology has been a major deflationary force in the macroeconomics. Yeah,
I know people laugh. I don't know how many of the audience are will remember this. I'm sure there's some are, and they'll chuckle with me. But I remember growing up, and when I might have grade school, it would have been in the '60s, late '60s. that to buy a calculator, a simple calculator that banks give away now, was
Right.
$100 to buy one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TIs.
Yeah. And so I know it's hard for some to grasp that, but you think back, like anything, as soon as you buy a phone, as soon as you buy a smartphone, 2 months later, it's obsolete almost. And that's not the result of technology as much as the result of the bottom line for businesses. And they wanted to, they want you to buy a new phone every 3 months. So there you go. I mean, I hate to say that it took 60 years, for these things. This becomes it hasn't become some revelation to me, but the more every day, like I've told you before, you guys have heard me say it, every day I realize how much I don't know, not how much I do know.
Right. About something you've been working on your whole entire life.
Everything in life.
Yep.
Everything. Every day I find out something that's like, shouldn't I have known that? I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you have a show coming up. Rob
I do.
It's coming on at 4:30. You guys are going to do a relay with me.
Okay.
But I want to save time for your best bet. But I do. I was going to send you a message last night during the Bucks and the Patriots game, and I really was impressed with Mac Jones. I can't say enough good things. I mean, he kept, there's so many veteran quarterbacks that would have wilted under that pressure playing for New England, and he really embraced that moment because he's, no matter what his career is, he's going to be remembered as the time that he was the opposing quarterback at home in New England and took Tom Brady through all 12 rounds of the heavyweight match.
Yeah, more than that. I'm going to trump that, or I think I'll trump that, and I'll say that it's not. Listen, no matter what he does, it will never, ever be equal. It won't even compare. In fact, there'll be some people who will get upset with you if you try to put a young Jones into a young Brady conversation. Who wants to follow? So. Who wants to follow Newt Rockne? Who wants to follow legends in our lifetime? It's a tough gig to follow that. I mean, it's almost a lose-lose. So, I agree with you. Listen, he made a ton of mistakes that they're subtle. But
the one in the red zone there towards the end of the game, that should have been a pick six.
Yes, it should have been.
I'll give you that one.
Well, pick at the worst. I mean, it did require some athleticism to get to the ball. But the thing is that I was amazed by this. I didn't play this game because I can tell you right now, my write-up would have been passionately opinionated, and that is that to think, and I know Belichick, although he did get upset a little bit in the post presser, right? Is that it's people, you have to understand that that's not the first rodeo, Belichick's first rodeo, and if you don't think somebody knows, if anyone knows what Brady's liabilities are, his Achilles or his soft spot or his weaknesses. I will tell you right now that I think Bill Belichick's smarter than the average bear when it comes to football, and I think he knows. And I'll tell you what you saw a lot of yesterday, and what you saw a lot of yesterday was that you saw a lot of too high coverage. Basically, Tampa 4's coverages, which Brady. I'm always shocked at why more coaches in his career didn't play that soft cover 2 against him, because that's where you depend on your receiver. It's not a timing. It's just not a timing scheme as a quarterback. It's more about the relationship with your receiver and knowing when to sit down, where to go right, when to go left, those kind of things. And Brady has made a living. His career made a living was on throwing the ball before the receiver even turned his head or made a cut. Timing. And the way to always beat him, if you weren't going to play soft zones, cover the 2 high or the 4 highs, was to get him off his spot, to get him off his X, put pressure right in his face. That's always the way you could beat Brady. and why Belichick always had really strong interior offensive linemen to guards. And tackles, important tackles are the center and guards are. That's if you can get through the A gap against Belichick, then you're doing something, because typically they're very protective of that. They were with Brady, because he wasn't the most mobile guy. He wasn't the most mobile guy. So I liked the game. I saw the game, and I won the game. I won the game personally because I played in game live. I only made one play. It was in game, and I played it when I got to. I got 2.5 when I think New England went up by 7, went by touchdown early, and while people would say you only got 2.5, you could have got better than that pre-flop. Well, that's true. The thing is, though, if I knew what the score was going to be through the first quarter, when I do pre-flops, I'd probably be a hell of a lot more successful.
Yeah, and Sumner Hutchinson here says Tampa Bay's secondary is weak.
It is. Well, you don't sign. Sure, I was down. I stopped the shop, John, and I'm watching. They got the TVs at the shop. The guys got the TVs up. They're watching the Monday Night Football game, and they're saying, "Look, this Tampa Bay team, they are so good, or New England's so good that or Tampa Bay they went and picked up Sherman for this game." And of course, what I wanted to say was, are you effing kidding me? If you have to start Sherman in your defensive secondary, then that's not a good thing.
No. And it's injuries, but still.
Well, yeah, but it's not. Listen, it's not a good thing when you have to reach out and get a guy that's 105 years old, to play with, basically to go against Belichick. I don't care. Listen, Belichick's won more championships and more games with average Joe players than any coach in the modern era.
Yep, no doubt.
Yeah.
Because how many times have you heard it in the Super Bowl where they say, yes, this guy, 7th round pick out of somewhere, and you never heard of his name before.
Michigan.
And he's playing lights out.
Yeah.
It's that mantra. I mean, there's so much to it, though. It's easy to say, do your job. But when you're on a football team or any team that has that many players, including basketball teams, that is hard to do. That is very hard to do.
Yeah, the culture, the locker room in Green Bay, the locker room in New England is not. I don't think it's not a party, and in the culture,
right.
And as soon as you walk through the door, if there's anyone in that locker room that wants you to help them succeed, so in turn they help you succeed, and that is, listen, whatever you do here, you're on time, you listen. You cross your T's, you dot your I's, and you do your job, and you'll survive. And that is what this team has done for 20 years.
Yep. I thought it was a fantastic game. I had my All Access clients had the under, and I was hoping to be able to see a fast start in the first quarter and then add to it, but there was never a chance. So. I did do a show, Tony, for the first time yesterday at halftime. It was right around halftime of the 1 o'clock games.
Yeah.
And I did do 2 in-game bets on that show. It was like 7 or 8 minutes in length, and it was the Jets plus 4.5 right there at the half, and the Giants, which when I did it looked like a really bold, maybe stupid move. It was soon after I signed off the show. It was 21-10. That I said, you want to try to get plus 8.5 because of where the score is right now. And then it didn't really matter because the Giants ended up winning.
Right.
So both the Giants and the Jets won. And I'll tell you, a premium pick for me also was the Jets. And of course I'm nervous about it because, you hear how bad they are, and you can't really get it out of your head that, well, maybe they're not quite as bad as everybody thinks. But their first 3 games were against 3 pretty damn good defenses, probably arguably the best 3 in the league.
Who?
The Jets played the 3 of the best defenses to start the season in the league.
Okay, you have to refresh me. I mean, I just did all my updates on my defensive rankings, all adjusted, weighted, et cetera, and because I was doing some copy, some content, some write-ups, some analysis for some games that are coming up. And at this time of year is one of the times of year, John, that I use that a lot. I use it's time. It's still early, but I think at this point in time you can go back and say, hey, here's the 4 teams they've played, just like you're doing right now. And the Jets, I would have to, off the top of my head, I'm trying to think who they played. Obviously, they played Carolina in week 1.
Patriots, Denver.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and I'll say this. Carolina doesn't they're not adjusted due to their opponents. They don't rank to – I played – one of my wins in the NFL, my first the early game was I had Dallas and Carolina over simply because
interesting. I was with you.
Yeah. I mean, it was really – I thought it was the easiest play of the day, but then anytime my metrics and I start writing up something and said, that everything points to this and that, I typically back away because that's just not what that's not how this league is. It's not created that way. It's created equally as much as it can be. The NFL is created more equal than any league in professional sports. None can compare to that. The try how they attempt to create parity. At least you're not going to find. There are going to be a few teams, the old San Francisco teams, that would fly their guys in private jet or the nicest jets, put them in the nicest rooms. When the Italian family owned that team and Walsh was quarterback, et cetera, those guys lived really well. Better than. But the rest of the league, this is not like making $500 a week in minor league baseball, which is a travesty right now and really a big issue with baseball as well. So, and we could go into that too. If you haven't, any who's listening, or you, John, if you haven't, do some research on the conditions that these, a lot of times we just think, well, they're just riding a bus because they don't want to fly them, and they don't have the best locker room or the best equipment or the best. Listen, if you don't get a signing bonus in Major League Baseball, then you better have some savings because you're going to starve.
Yep.
Starve. You probably know as much as you're involved in baseball, you have to know you're going to effing starve. And in fact, if you don't put a gun to your head at some point in time and shoot yourself, you're way ahead of some of the guys. It's sad. It's really sad. The pressure to perform under those conditions takes a different animal, and they're tough sons of bitches. I'm telling you right now. Yep. Determined, tough, smart. Wow.
Let's get to your pick for the show if you have one, because I know you have to get going, and then I'll just monologue it until Rob Vino comes on.
Well, I'm going to do this. I don't have. There's nothing.
There's really nothing to talk about other than Monday night.
Not tonight. But I will. Let me just throw how about a college football game out for Saturday? Just going to throw it out there.
Yeah.
And let me pull up my notes because I don't want to. Everything's not quite that fresh yet because I haven't done a bunch of my written work. But I'm going to pull up these notes for you really quickly, and you might know something about it, or those listening might know a little bit about. When we're going to go small school, we're going to go a little bit smaller. We're not talking about minor league football in any shape or form, but let's go to Arkansas State is a team I want to talk about.
There you go.
Do you know something about Arkansas State? You know something about the Sun Belt?
Not too much. I know they're playing Coastal Carolina this week.
They are playing Coastal Carolina. And if you guys have a chance, John, you probably don't have 1 minute, and you want to look at the box score or what Arkansas State is. I'm hard on Big Ten teams or Pac-12 teams. Some of the teams that have coaches that are younger than me, and I consider them dinosaurs because they refuse to accept that the only thing in life that doesn't change, that is constant, is the fact that you better change and change with that's the only constant. Yep. And that is Arkansas State, it doesn't play football, in my opinion. They go out and practice for 60 minutes, clocked, officiated, competed against, and other teams are playing. But they threw the ball 61 times. They threw the ball 61
a lot of yards. I know that.
Yeah, they gained 500. Let's put it this way. My notes: 61 times through the air, 4 interceptions in those 61 times. Right. 34 first downs, 534 yards of offense, and they lost by 26 points.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
It says a lot for the defense, or it says a lot for turnovers or something.
Well, they played Georgia Southern. How many yards did Georgia Southern? Georgia Southern won by, as I just outlined, won by 26 points, and they threw for 69 yards through the air. They ran for, I think, 500 or 600 yards rushing.
503. I have it right here. 50 attempts, 503, 3 for 13, passing for 37.
10 yards a carry. Now, you'd have to go back and look at Arkansas State. You have to go back and look at their past. This isn't different. This is who they are. This is what they do.
Yeah, they throw and throw more.
That's right. And so I'm not certain. If you look at the final score there, 59-33 in their last game, that's 92 points. The total was 66. And that's a triple option. First off, I guess we say that Georgia Southern doesn't run the football. It's a triple option running offense. Who they fired their coach the week before this game, and they nearly got to the total in this game by themselves. What's my pick? Central or Coastal Carolina, Arkansas State, which is a Thursday night game. Am I right?
Yeah.
Thursday or Friday night game.
Yep.
And the total opened. Listen, a penny opened this, or there's been some books. Some of these books opened this at 77. Well, they had to make an adjustment to the rest of the stores, the shops, and to keep pace and to save themselves from being horrendously lopsided. It's still. I saw 70 last night, and I'm playing over 70 on Coastal Carolina, who I think will score 50. And all Arkansas State has to do is, when you throw the ball that many times, that many drives, you're bound to get lucky a couple times. So they need to put up 14, 20 points.
Yeah, it's I like that pick quite a bit because, I mean, realistically, I think Coastal Carolina probably scores more than 50, but to your
Maybe
point,
so.
50.
Yes.
That gets you just about there.
They're efficient. If there's something about Coastal Carolina, if you don't know anything about them, this is one thing I'd tell you is that they are well coached and they are efficient. Everything they do is planned, and there's not let's try this off the cuff and you lose 5 yards. They're offensively efficient. They're one of the higher rated offenses in college football the last 3 years. Yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah.
That's my pick. I like the over in that game. And I would suggest I can't imagine that it's going to – I wouldn't say jump it right now because, listen, when Sharps see a total of 77, blindly they're going to play under. What you have to do to get to – what you have to do in college football where the clock runs like it does, it only stops – essentially it only stops just for a short period of time until they move the chains, and they complete passes. So what you have to do to get there is you have to be efficient. And I'm saying Arkansas State's not efficient. I'm saying that's what they do. Really interesting team, though. And I suggest watching those totals moving forward. I don't think – I'm not sure that they could set a total high enough to get me to play under.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
Right.
I like that call immediately.
There you go.
So I have Rob Vino here, obviously, but he has to unmute his mic.
Well, listen. I have got my call, but I know any second now they're going to say I'm going to get a ding and say, "Where the hell are you? Why aren't you here?" I'll say, "Well, because I didn't get the directive to come yet. Everything I do, I have to be directed. Ask my wife. If you don't believe.
Oh, me too. But
yeah. Even Rob Vino.
Something to keep you awake tonight, and we'll talk about this game tomorrow because I absolutely
drugs. I hope
100. Well, I mean, among this conversation, we can talk about drugs too. But I am 133% confident that Michigan goes down this week in
Well,
Lincoln.
I got to go, but I the first thing I would say is, John, where the
I
hell
said
did
we could talk about it
133 fucking percent come from? Where did the
I don't know.
33? What 33%? What is that? Is that like a
It's a
is that like a
Fibonacci
secret
retracement.
code? Oh,
It's part of the
shit,
Fibonacci
that's
numbers.
Right. The
Yeah,
Fibonacci.
I can't help myself.
Numbers. Rob Vino,
Yes, sir.
did you get a haircut?
No. Do I need
You
one?
no. That's they comment. He commented on my hair first time I came.
Oh, okay.
Mine. I told you about the. I got to go, but there's my signal right there. I got a ticket about 2 weeks ago, and I told the officer that something was wrong with it. I wasn't going to sign this ticket, and he said, "Why?" I said, "Well, you got my hair is gray, bitch. My hair is gray."
How'd that work? How did that work out?
He said, "You don't have to fucking sign it. You still got the ticket." I said, "I understand. I see it."
Have a good night, Tony.
Okay, guys.
All right.
May all the wins be
Yours.
mine.
All right.
See you guys. See you tomorrow.
Take
All
care.
right, see you tomorrow, man. Hey, Rob,
Good afternoon, John.
how was your weekend?
Good. As far as college football Saturday and NFL Sunday go, they were both. I mean, you couldn't split them down the middle anymore. I think college was 4-4 and NFL was 3-3. So there you go. Got a little bit of an edge in the NFL because the bigger plays won. So we'll take that. But yeah, it was as, I guess, mediocre as you could possibly be, right? Interesting too, John, that the early games all went my way in both sports. And the late games all went against me. So, I don't know. Put that in the handicapping profile. Don't bet late games, I guess.
Yeah, I had 2 3-packs yesterday in the NFL. I rarely have more than 3 plays on any given week, but the models came up with all of them, and I went 3-0 in the 1 o'clock games. To your point, and you start thinking, do I tell my clients to pull back a little bit on the reins, but you can't really do it that late in the day because a lot of people won't check their email. But anyway, the evening ones went 2-1, so I ended up 5-1 for the day. So that was good. And college football just continues to roll. I'm waiting for that losing week. Honest to God, I'm waiting for that losing week.
Well, just make it a 500 or just a shade under, and you'll be just fine. Avoid the big pitfall.
I mean, I got lucky. I don't watch the games like you and Tony don't watch them. I tune in once in a while just to check it out. But I have to admit, when the Jets blew the lead and it was tied, I checked the score, and then I decided I was going to go out and do some yard work and pool maintenance ahead of the fall and winter here, just to not watch, because I'm always afraid that I'm going to jinx it. That I'm going to watch like a murder mystery show or something here. And in fact, I also had that Washington Iron Condors team, and I thought that was a loss. And there was only 4 minutes to go, and Atlanta pulled what they pulled in the Super Bowl against New England, and all of a sudden I checked the scores, and I'm like, wait a minute, do I have the right week? I couldn't believe that. I just could not believe it. So I did have some fortuitous, unexpected good luck with that 5-1. But you get that sometimes, and when you're running hot, you can't get enough of it.
Yeah, and in the NFL especially, where these leads change hands in the fourth quarter so often. I mean, I was on the Washington side as well, and I was kind of irked that they had to settle for a field goal. They got the ball back. I think they scored twice in the final 3:52.
Yeah.
But they got the ball back the first time, and they were on the march, and they had to settle for 3. And I'm thinking, even if they get the ball back, you're only going to win 31-30, and you're laying 1.5, so that's going to be another agonizing loss. And they threw that throwback screen to McKissick, who just took off down the sidelines. And I'm sure you've seen the highlight by now, but he went airborne from about the 5-yard line. And I'm just waiting for the referees to overturn it, which they didn't, thank goodness. And so once that one came in, I was on the same side as you. Once that came in, I thought, man, this Maybe
It's
my
pretty
thinking was
good.
a little opposite. I'm thinking this is going to be a pretty big day. We're already off to the races. We're getting lucky as well. And, but so a couple of things just didn't, you get a case where Seattle plays San Francisco and I have over 51.5. And right before the game, Robbie Gould, the 49ers field goal kicker, gets hurt. And so, of course, that comes into play right away. They're marching the punter out there to try a field goal, and those 3 points would have made a very, very big difference in my day had he had made that field goal. It would have been a 52 final. So, sometimes you get it on the lucky side. Sometimes you get on the unlucky side. Trick is to try and win the ones that aren't decided by a coin flip, and we got there with a few. Like I say early on, I think that the Chiefs and the Eagles, I had the Chiefs first half as the best play of the day, and they did. It wasn't easy, right? I'm sure you saw a lot of that one. I mean, that first half was whoever gets the ball last is going to be ahead, and the Eagles kicked field goals where the Chiefs scored touchdowns, so that wound up 21-13, and I think Hurts got strip sacked right before the end of the first half to preserve it, but that one was good. And Cowboys-Carolina, over, it was a low first half total, maybe about 25.5, and they went over that very easily. So, like I say, early was really good. Late sort of gave it back, and we'll see if we can, if all goes well tonight, John, we'll wind up on the plus side if all goes well tonight, because I do have a play up and available for this evening, Monday Night Football.
I do as well. I had over in the Eagles game, full game.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Jets.
Yes.
And I'm totally convinced the Jets are a team that I could almost see myself on again, for the sole reason that now we have a sample size. We can look at the defenses that they played. We can make a case that those are 3 of the top 5 defenses in the league. And they didn't dominate Tennessee, but they exploited that secondary, which is what I thought was going to happen. So finally, Zach Wilson has some time to actually survey the field and throw and complete, and all of a sudden that Jets team, for the first time in probably 14 weeks, had a rhythm. And it wasn't a rhythm like we saw last night, or with Green Bay or even Seattle looking so good at times on offense, but it was a big jump forward. And the fact that they held on. So I hate seeing teams just get beat up and torn up in the media. I mean, that does no good for anybody. And if you're a member of that team, I mean, then what is it? Then you have to close your eyes and ears and not listen to it, or you get pissed off and throw things in the locker room, and it's just it was good for them to win, and ironically, both New York teams won
in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds of that?
Yeah,
the Yankees almost won in overtime yesterday.
Boy, oh boy, came through late, and it seems like we were on some same sides, because I had the Jets as a free play yesterday, and in the write-up with the Jets +6. Obviously, you described a good piece of it, is that Tennessee's just not a good defensive team, and when they were missing,
I agree.
The talk was of A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, which of course is a big part of your handicap. You take away their top 2 receivers, and you wonder where they're going to go with the ball beyond Derrick Henry. And the Jets have been a pretty stout run defense, right? So you take your shot with +6 at home, and a quarterback who's going to have some time. And he was getting 2 receivers back. Jamison Crowder and Denzel Mims both come back for the Jets. So there were some personnel advantages to playing the Jets +6. I think people get a little scared of playing what they perceive to be a bad team. In retrospect, I should have made it more than a free play. I probably should have had it as part of the member card, but I didn't stick it in there. Used it as the free. So, yeah, you're right, John. I mean, all of that stuff has to be taken into consideration. Zach Wilson was up against it first 3 outings. When you're going to play Carolina and Matt Rule, and you're going to play Vic Fangio of Denver, and you're going to play Bill Belichick running that New England defense, it's hard. But the Tennessee defense, without their premier pass rusher, and it's a weak defense to begin with, worth taking a chance, and it came out good. Good.
in Kansas City, I mean, that defense is a big problem. I mean, I think Reed's strategy was, what I wrote to the clients, was that he's going to simply not worry about the defense, and he's just going to outscore the Eagles. And I even tweeted this: the difference between a good team, a great team, and a team that's mediocre or poor is that the poor teams have more field goals than touchdowns. At one point, the Eagles had scored on 5 possessions, but 3 of them were field goals. The Chiefs scored on 4 possessions, touchdowns. So the Eagles had more scoring possessions by 1 than the Chiefs did, but they were losing by, I guess, at that point, 12, I guess it was. And that's the difference. I mean, it's easy to say, but as soon as a big dog, 7 points or more in the NFL, has to settle for a field goal, and the other team has already scored a touchdown, that goes right in my head. That this home dog, for example, is not going to end up faring too well unless the favorite helps them with turnovers and stupidity.
Kansas City got all those turnovers and stupidity out the week before against San Diego when they turned it over the first 3 times in Charger territory. And in the NFL, that's why the NFL is described as a red zone league. It totally is a red zone league. Whether you can get into the end zone or have to settle for field goals. For years, the Atlanta Falcons have been a field goal kicking team. It hurt them again. Yesterday, they just kicked too many field goals rather than scoring touchdowns. But a lot of teams can get inside the 20, and then the playbook runs dry. And Andy Reid, they used that shovel pass a couple times in a row, kind of that bowling form shovel pass to get into the end zone. But you have to have a whole other playbook for inside the 20 in the NFL. And some teams do score touchdowns, and some teams regularly don't. The Eagles, I'm trying to think, John, I guess they've run into red zone trouble all season long, right? Because in the San Francisco game, they had 1st and goal from the 1 and couldn't get in on 4 tries. They wound up doing the play from the Super Bowl on 4th down.
The Philly special.
The Philly special, and it didn't work. So, but it's a young team they don't necessarily have, I'm trying to think, outside of Goddard or Ertz, a real good end zone target, right? Like, their wide receivers are smallish. Jalen Reagor's not tall. Devontae Smith is not tall. They can't just high point a ball or post up a guy like some other teams have the ability to do. Travis Kelce for Kansas City is, and Tyreek Hill, we saw him on the goal line score too. They're just a little bit better in that department right now. I thought it was a pretty good showing for the Eagles, though, offensively. But, boy, 2 weeks in a row against 2 really good offenses. Their defense has got shredded. Oof.
Yeah.
40 against Dallas and 42 against, or maybe more than, was it more than 40 against Dallas? Maybe it was. 40-plus against 2 straight teams. Not real good.
Yeah, I agree.
Over team. I think we made that call 3 weeks ago. The Eagles might be an over team this year.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I wouldn't be afraid to do it again. They're on the road at Carolina. We saw what Carolina's defense is, and the Eagles' offense isn't all that bad. They have young weapons. I mean, they do. Devontae Smith's catch that was called back, I saw that highlight. That was unreal. So they have the playmakers there now. I think they just have to keep working together, and they'll be better at the end of the season than they are now. But who knows in that division? You would think it's Dallas to take control of now. They can lay an egg any week of the season, so there's really no clear-cut winner there. But obviously the AFC West is stout, and that game tonight is going to be fun to watch. Hopefully as good as the one last night.
Yeah, how about that, Tom Brady? Mac Jones looked very good for those who, we talked a lot about Mac Jones dating back to the Senior Bowl.
You're the one that started it, thank goodness.
What was it? Last night he hit 19 in a row at one point.
Yeah, that ties Brady's career high.
You can just see it in that guy that when they do get him more weapons and they can become more explosive, he's going to be a good quarterback. I don't think there's any question about it. people compare. I don't think they compare him to Brady, but when people say that, they mean that there are a lot of similarities in their game, and you can see those similarities. Mac Jones is quick to release the football. Mac Jones knows where the football is supposed to go. He walks to the line, reads the defense. Not the strongest arm in the world, but certainly an accurate arm, puts the ball right where it's supposed to be. So they've got themselves a very good quarterback of the future. It's just a matter of building the parts around it. And they couldn't run the football last night, but nobody runs it on Tampa Bay anyway.
Right.
But they have to get a little more than Jacoby Myers. The wide receiving core just leaves a lot to be desired right now.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Well, do you want to do a... there's not much going on tonight. I don't know if you have a free pick for the show or not.
Yeah,
but
because
if you do,
let's
do one, and then I'll do mine, and we'll call it a night.
Well, let's go like this, and this is ended up already on the client card for tomorrow. So for those of you who are watching, you won't have to purchase it because we'll just give it away here now. I played the AL play-in game tomorrow night, the Yankees and Red Sox. I played the first 5 innings under the total. We're looking at 4.5. Couple of reasons why. First of all, we're missing a couple of key bats in this game, right?
Yeah.
DJ LeMahieu for the Yankees, J.D. Martinez for the other side. And you've got arguably the 2 best pitchers they could possibly throw out there starting this game. Garrett Cole on one side, Nate Eovaldi, who's been there before and performed very well on the playoff stage with the 99 miles an hour that he throws. So I think that with those 2 guys, John, you probably want to and the full game total has come down. The 8.5s have been chopped down to 8s now all across the board. But I was a little scared of the Boston bullpen, not necessarily the Yankee bullpen.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of that. But the Boston bullpen can be a little shaky. So I decided to go the 5-inning route where 4.5s are available universally everywhere. Got to lay a little extra juice with it. I think you can get as cheap as 15 cents. So go shop. But I think, to think that this game could be 2-2 or 2-1 or even 2-0. Garrett Cole could have a shutout through 5 in this one if he's on top of his game, which I expect him to be. So I played under 4.5 runs, first 5 innings. Yanks Boston tomorrow in. We'll see if it turns out to be the Bucky Dent game of 1978, but certainly Yankees Red Sox have a long, long history.
Yeah, that's for sure. And tonight's game, I'll give it out for the show. I have a 4%er on the side of this one that I like quite a bit. And for the show, I'm going to play under this posted total. The betting frenzy, I would call it, with the over is getting a little bit out of hand, and it's really not moving up. And that's a telltale sign that it's public bettors probably who unfortunately lost over the weekend now trying to recoup it all. And it's human nature to want to bet the over when you're trying to recoup it all. But do yourself a favor and don't try to recoup it all if you're in that boat. It's not worth it. It's just not worth putting your that kind of money all in one game. It's better to just keep grinding it along like we keep trying to say every single show. 4%er is a 4%er. Doesn't matter if it's Monday Night Football or the Super Bowl or the first week of the MAC conference in college football. And I don't mean to put them down. It's just the MAC conference is a little different than a Super Bowl, for example. But in this game, we're seeing 67% of the tickets and 80% of the money on the over, and the number of tickets today has been rising. So that immediately to me is a bit of a red flag. So I think. If you can get, 51.5, maybe 52. South Point just went to 52. And by the way, this opened at 52.5. So if we've had this kind of activity over the weekend and it still has not taken out the opening, that's another divergence I think is favoring the under in this game. So that will be my pick for that. And then... If tomorrow, Rob, I don't know if you heard me tell Tony this or not. I think Michigan's going down Saturday at 7:30 p.m. at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska. That when that line opened up, and I immediately turned on the models, and I started really digging like it was a Tuesday. And why in the world, after that performance that Michigan put on Wisconsin, and the diversity now that offense has, well, the starting quarterback for Michigan escapes my memory right now, but he completed 17 passes. Prior to this game, he attempted a max of 16. So Harbaugh was able to change the scheme completely around, and once I got to halftime, you could see what was going to happen. So for them to come now into Lincoln as basically a 3 or 3.5 point favorite, ranked number 9 in the country, and Nebraska is not ranked, it smells funny. It definitely smells funny. So I'll have some pretty amazing angles that also support Nebraska, and we'll go over those as well. But I don't think I've ever been that bullish on a game on a Monday that takes place on Saturday in a couple years.
Yeah, Nebraska's been coming the last few weeks, John. On
Yep.
Wager Talk today, last Friday, I used them as a play on that show, minus the 11 against Northwestern, and they win 56-7. And it's really hard. I laid it out that day. It's been really, really hard to back Nebraska, not because of talent or inabilities, but because of the boneheaded stuff that they do on a weekly basis. And I just felt like, you watch them play Oklahoma 3 weeks, I guess 2 games ago. It'll be 3 weeks when this game goes off. But watch them play Oklahoma, and they stood up at the line of scrimmage. They had a really good strategy for that game. We're going to umbrella defense you. You're going to have to go underneath. We know you like to hit big shots. They didn't allow any of those. And they were right in that game the entire way. I think they lose by 7. They come back the next week, have to go to East Lansing against a red-hot Michigan State team and drag them into overtime. And you could just see each week progressing. I mean, we go all the way back to the beginning of the year when they played Illinois and lost. I think everybody soiled on Nebraska right away because, oh, my God, it's the same old Nebraska. And believe me, they look like it. But it looks different now. It looks different. Scott Frost, he's not a head coach that I generally pay a lot of attention to because there's a lot of coach speak that goes on with Scott Frost. He doesn't really give you full honesty like some others do. Very few do, but there's a couple that do. But he said, physically, his team was much, much better now. He had worried about their physicality for the last couple of years, but this year's team, as far as tackling and standing up at the line of scrimmage, and now that's what Michigan does best, right? Michigan wants to run the football. You mentioned that Cade McNamara threw it a few more times this week for them. I think that was part of a game plan against a team that only gives up 1 yard per carry, so you had to throw the ball against them a little bit. But that'll be an interesting game because Nebraska's, in my power ratings, they've risen a little bit over the course of the last 3 weeks incrementally, as has Michigan, rightfully so. Michigan has moved probably more than Nebraska because they just continue to pile up the results with margin. But that will be an interesting road trip into Lincoln because you're getting what I feel like Nebraska's peaking right now, and Michigan has pretty much peaked since the start of the season. So we'll see how that goes. It's an interesting ball game for sure.
Oh, it
Two
definitely
head
is.
coaches they're both of the same mindset. I think about Scott Frost and that game against Oklahoma, and they interviewed him, and we're going to bully them, and we're going to punch them in the face, and we're going to bloody their nose, and it just reminds you of Jim Harbaugh. It's the same style, it's the same mindset. He's had to adapt from that Central Florida style a little bit, right? When Scott Frost was in Central Florida and ran the 13-0 board that season and had their own fake national championship parade for themselves, they were a little more than just bully you at the line of scrimmage. They were more explosive. And with this Nebraska club, it just hasn't worked out that way. So they've turned the tables a little bit, found a new philosophy, and here we go. Your front against my front, and let's see who's better, who's tougher, and it wouldn't surprise me if Nebraska won for sure. I'm a little surprised that Michigan has continued on the way they have. But they're a good football team. At this point in time, you have to be sold on what
Yep.
Michigan has done. You can't just, it's 5 weeks in. I don't think you can sit there and say they haven't played anybody or anything like that. And what you might be able to say is that Wisconsin, because their offense is so pathetic. If there was a
It's
game
weak.
that they were going to win, it would have been that game, right? They just had
Yep.
to. And, they've done, anybody good that they've played has shut them down, starting with Penn State. Well, Penn State didn't really shut them down. They got outgained in that game, but they lost the game at home to Penn State, didn't score points. Had the total yardage, but they, threw interceptions and all that other stuff. So, I don't know. That Big Ten is looking a little different today than it did last Monday, right? Ohio State comes out and absolutely blasts Rutgers, which was a real popular pick among folks. Rutgers. That game was over as soon as they kicked the ball off. Michigan and Iowa and Penn State, those 4, and 3 of those you can attach outstanding defense to. Iowa, Penn
Yep.
State, Michigan, all playing really, really good defense at this point.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's going to be fun to break down these games, too, as we go through the week. Especially in the Big Ten. There's a couple good games in the SEC, too, where you have a pretty darn good Texas A&M team getting 17.5 at home against that team from Alabama. That was one of my I had 2 losers in college football on Saturday. One was Mississippi. I was very disappointed in that. Goodness gracious, what was the other one? Why I should remember this. Wow, going brain dead already. See, that's the sign of a. If I can humbly say, it's a sign of a pro, Rob, because we don't remember what we won or lost, a couple days after it happens, and we're already on to the next week.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is, John. We have to move on so fast that you barely have time. I mean, I do a lot of college football work Sunday while I'm watching NFL, but it's what happened the week before is quickly forgotten because, like you said, you saw a Nebraska-Michigan line, and immediately you're into that matchup 6 days from now, rather than thinking about what happened last week. So it moves so fast. I say it every week when we come on, but this is going to be week 6 of college football. It feels like it just started. And
it does.
Here we go.
You're right.
6 weeks going to be down the drain already. So
yep,
it's just amazing how quickly the wheels have to start spinning for the next week and the next games. And we have Thursday night. Pretty soon we're going to have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
that's
Saturday.
right. Yeah,
we're going to have
that's
the whole batch thrown at us. So and basketball's coming, right? That just amazes me as well. That I keep being reminded how quickly the NBA is coming, how quickly college basketball is coming. Yikes. It's a crowded month of the year.
Yeah, no, I have to ask you because I haven't had time to even look at it, but what is the latest with the Sixers and you-know-who? Because we're getting pretty close now. I mean, we're actually playing some exhibition games, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep. Well,
have you heard anything at all? Because it's suddenly gone really quiet.
Yeah, and I heard
relatively
no response.
speaking.
Well, I heard no response from Ben Simmons' camp to the Sixers' move. I mean, it's like a chess game. The Sixers made the next move, and they took the $8.5 million that they owe him and put it into an escrow account and said, we're going to leave it right here, and every day you don't show up, we're just going to draw your fine out of that $8.5 million. And if you decide to show up and play, then we'll pay you the money. But until then, they kept it. They withheld it. Like I say, they put it in an escrow account, and every single day he doesn't show up, I forget what the fine is. It's not as crazy as, I mean, it's substantial. Maybe not to Ben Simmons, but to anybody else walking around every day trying to make a living, it's substantial.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving too, but that's a totally
Kyrie
different
Irving,
story.
$400,000 for every home game. Are you kidding me? It's almost $500,000 just because of, I don't know. I saw Andrew Wiggins for Golden State, who was another unvaccinated NBA player of significance, did get vaccinated, finally went ahead and did it because I think he tried for a religious exemption. It didn't work. with the NBA, so he got his, so he's good. But the Kyrie Irving situation is just, I mean, I don't want to say, it's his personal choice, but to give up on $400,000 for 41 home games, I can't even do that math in my head. I'd need the calculator.
Yeah, no.
That's something's got to give there, right? I mean, you just can't sacrifice that amount of money.
It's $10,000 a shot if he puts up 40 shots. I mean,
Wow.
that is crazy. And it's definitely crazy.
They have the potential to be very, very good, boy. Brooklyn does. But, who knows? We'll wait and see. Like I always say, my son tries to bring a lot of these things to my attention at times. I say, you know what? Wake me up when something happens. When Kyrie Irving makes an official decision, let me know. Until then, I can't handicap it. So
Right.
we'll let it go.
Exactly.
See what happens. We're worried
Yeah, we
about
can
tonight's
we can
Chargers
talk a
Raiders.
little bit about that tomorrow. And then, as you know, and this is definitely going to be a premium and show pick, is Nebraska today. I think I'd wait, though, because I think the public is going to look at Michigan as -3, -3.5 as a gift. And, it's recency bias. What has Nebraska done? Oh, okay, they look at the record and oh, that's right, Michigan kicked the crap out of Wisconsin in Madison, which was impressive. They haven't won there since 2001. They lost the last 5.
Yeah,
And I think there's more of a chance of going to 4.5 than 2.5. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it could very well be. I mean, again, the 56-7 against Northwestern put up by Nebraska could be brushed off as, oh, well, it's Northwestern, they're down, they stink. And then the Michigan win was a big deal, John. I mean, if ever Michigan was going to collapse, and believe me, there's a lot of us, myself included, in that camp that were very skeptical of Michigan.
Yep, I was. I lost with them. I lost with Wisconsin.
And they showed that. I think Wisconsin, obviously, when you do what they've done 3 times now, which is play horrendous offense, even more than 3 times. I remember having them in the game where they played Eastern Michigan. They were like 26.5-point favorites. And it's a team that, on a normal year, Wisconsin would roll off of a loss.
Yep.
And they did cover, but it was not the easiest cover in the world. It took a late touchdown in the fourth quarter to get that cover. So there's something wrong there. It's 2 years in a row now for Paul Chryst. You can't brush it off to coronavirus in 2020 anymore. The quarterbacking there stinks, and it stunk for, I would go back even to a kid who played middle school football with my youngest son from St. Maximilian here in Westchester. Alex Hornibrook was the quarterback for Wisconsin a few years back, and that wasn't even really good quarterback play. So Wisconsin, since Russell Wilson, have they had a good quarterback? I'm not sure that they have.
I don't know. But I gotta think his seat's getting a little bit warmer.
Yeah, he's a tough guy to fire.
Right. Because who are you going to replace him with? I mean, that's one of the things. But
and he does everything right. I mean, he's just, the kids are never in trouble. They graduate him. He does everything the right way. But I think it shows, John. We say it all the time. You can't run out there anymore with conventional, traditional, I call it prehistoric. Those offensive concepts are done with. You're not going to win.
Yep.
I don't know if I said it on this show or another show, but somebody on that I saw said it best, where the way to win nowadays is to get an excellent offense and just an average defense. And if you have an average defense and you can make a couple of stops, you're going to win a lot of games. You put yourself in position. I think Kirk Herbstreit or somebody was talking about the college football playoff Final Four. That great defense just isn't required anymore. Great offense is.
Right.
If you have great defense, it's a bonus. But Wisconsin playing this run and defense style that they played through the 90s, I guess some teams did still, but it's gone. You're not going to win that way anymore. You just can't do it.
I agree 100%.
Although Iowa keeps winning. Iowa destroyed Maryland on Friday night. Oh, my God.
Yeah, they did. And I had the over in that game. One of the few times you get one of the teams to go over the total on their own merit. But there was an injury right before I turned it on to the Maryland star wide receiver, and it just seemed like everything just came unraveled. And they're a little bit of a chippy team, for lack of a better word, they lack. The last couple of years now, they've lacked discipline. They make stupid personal fouls. The guy that plays over and they shove the guy down, or they say something, that warrants a penalty. And they don't seem to be able to stop doing that. And until they do, I mean, it's probably not a team that I'm interested in betting on, but rather betting against. I do forget who they're playing this week. Is it Ohio State? I think it is. And they're not getting as many as I think they should.
Well, you can't put, and it's an indictment on that quarterback for sure. And me and Tony Finn, we did a panel video for Wager Talk on that particular game, and I had Iowa -3, and I can't tell you, generally speaking, John, because I'm not one of these hot takes, bold prediction type of guy. I'm pretty mild-mannered, and I don't get a lot of, as Tony calls them, drive-bys. But, man,
right.
The Maryland fan base came after me like nobody's come after me before. Clown, you're smoking crack, we'll be back to get you. They actually thought, I mean, one kid said that the little Tagovailoa should be considered for the Heisman Trophy. And I guess, you hit a nerve when you make a point that people that watch him said that this kid is a one-read quarterback, and that's it, and that Iowa would confuse the ever-loving heck out of him. I think you and I did a little bit of an analysis of this game on Thursday's show last week, but everything thought of Tua by some insiders ended up being true. He's not much of a quarterback. Iowa baited him, and he got picked off 6 times. You can lose a star wide receiver, that's fine, but you get picked off 5 times in the first half, 6 for a game. Iowa's just such a smarter team than Maryland is. Once again, Maryland has recruited like crazy. Mike Loxley's known to be a great recruiter, and they've got a lot of talent. But you put Phil Parker, that defensive coordinator, and Kirk Ferentz against that coaching staff, and the defensive wisdom and the way that they just, I mean, it was almost like high school against college in that game. It was no contest, Maryland's offense against that defense. And Iowa lives another day because, once again, they've played some good people now, John. I was just saying that before, that you can't shrug off what Michigan's done, but how about you destroyed Indiana, which Penn State did as well this week. You took a Heisman Trophy contender in Brock Purdy and running back Breece Hall for Iowa State. You destroyed them on their home field. And I'm talking about the defense shutting the offense down. And then Maryland was this hot new ticket item. And, I mean, that game was never, ever. Laying 3 and winning by 50 or whatever it was. That's one of the easiest ones going. So Maryland's good at their own competition level. But Maryland's not elite yet, like these other Big Ten programs are, and they've got a ways to go to become elite. Like you say, some of that stuff between the ears gets in their way, and until he can calm them down, it's great to recruit. But if you can't make it, on the football field, you have to be smart as well, and they just don't show any of that right now.
Yeah, that Penn State-Iowa game is going to be something else. We can put that on our radar for the shows as we get closer to the weekend. Absolutely, for sure.
I mean, the Happy Valley faithful were going crazy Saturday night, rightfully so. They've got a lot to be excited about there if they could just – and, I mean, the running game picked up, right? The running game was better this week for Penn State. So, if you allow them to become a little bit more balanced as the season goes on, if they can accomplish that, and I think they will. Again, I'm repetitive when I say this, but I'm a firm believer in Mike Yurcich at offensive coordinator, and it just looks like things as it goes on will round into form here. Penn State's offensive line is the biggest issue on that team. And
they pass protect really well. They don't run block real well.
And it looked a little better.
Yeah, I think Clifford should be mentioned in the Heisman circles too. He's got it done. And I'm noticing here in the Wager Talk odds page, This game opened at 2.5, and Penny's got it at -1.5, -107. So does Heritage. So that initially is saying that there's some decent sized money coming in on Penn State. It doesn't mean they're gonna win, but it should be a very, very fun game to watch and break down. That's for sure.
Yeah, I would think that, if you were to say defenses being equal, I don't know that they are. Maybe you give a slight edge to Iowa defensively, maybe, but you're splitting hairs on that side of the ball. You could say either way and have a legitimate argument. But the offensive side, I'd rather have Penn State's 11 on offense than I would Iowa's 11.
Because Iowa does not have a Dotson.
And
he's the X factor in a matchup like this. The total's only 41.5.
It may stay under that.
Wow.
That's a low number for modern day college football. That means 24-17 final. You still cash your ticket. Certainly that's attainable with these two defenses. And Iowa, what's the number now? I think it's 26 or 27 games in a row without allowing 24 points.
Yeah.
Which is a credit to that program. And
we'll
see. We will see, but that'll be a good one. Iowa took a lot of deep shots against Maryland, which may have surprised, but they found a weakness in that team, and they just went after it, and they completed a lot downfield, much more than we've seen all season long. But to think that that's going to exist against Penn State, not so sure. That's a good defense.
It's a battle of the Titans for sure, and that's going to go a long way to deciding the Big Ten. But Penn State has to play Ohio State, and if they would win against Iowa, then the stage is set. It's interesting, this game's at 4 o'clock, and the last two big Penn State games were at night on prime time television.
Yeah, well, they don't want to play away from home in a 7:30 game.
No,
they
right.
Want to play
it's a
at
huge
home
advantage. Yep.
In a 7:30 game, so Iowa's James Franklin's post game was really good the other day. We'll see. I mean, I happen to like him. I don't want to get too carried away. I've thought from the beginning that in the East Division they were the team with the chance to take out Ohio State if all broke right. So far, everything's breaking right. It's a non-divisional game too, John, which means it won't really hurt either one of them. For Penn State, the big games are Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State. The ones that are inside their division if they want to find their way to the Big 12 championship or Big 10 championship. But still, if you're looking for the college football playoff Final Four, this is a huge game. Iowa's ranked number 3, I saw this morning, and that's from somebody who doesn't pay attention to rankings, but I happen to be staring at the scroll on the television. It showed Iowa number 3 and Cincinnati number 5.
Yeah, they leapfrogged over Penn State. Penn State's number 4 2 weeks in a row. And what did Penn State do? They shut out Indiana 24-0. So I guess that wasn't impressive.
Well, they'll get their shot at number 3, right? And
yes, they do.
They're in a very good position, so the winner of that game is going to be one of the top 3 teams in the nation come next week. So it's just a very, very big game, important game for both sides.
Yep. Well, I guess I'll let you get back to work, Rob. I'm going to
buddy.
Grab some dinner and then get back at it. But our picks for the show are Tony Finn, Coastal Carolina, Rob Vino's first 5 under 4.5 runs in tomorrow's, I don't even know what to call it, monster playoff game that we all wanted to see. And, I had Nebraska for a free pick. And I did like Derek Carr under 23.5 completions. That was one that I saw was plus 105 or 110. So we'll put that down for the pizza money.
Into the pizza money.
Yeah, the $10 pizza. I'm still at the $10 level. Well, I guess it's $12.95, I think. But anyway, Rob, thanks for your time. As always, have a great night. Enjoy the Monday night game. And thanks for the everyone in the chat room today. I think this is the most names I've seen. A lot of names I don't recognize. So I guess the word's getting around that, once in a while we do know what we're doing and do it well. So we appreciate that very much. Make sure you get over to Wager Talk and get Rob Vino's and Tony Finn's, Tony Mejia's picks, and make sure you bookmark those pages so you can get to them easy, because they have stuff up every single day that's worthwhile for you to invest in. And think of it this way: you invest in them, then you got guys like us working for you, and that is a good thing. So for Rob Vino, myself, Tony Finn, everybody else that appears on this show, wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com, may all the wins continue to be yours.